Story number one. Didn't I just say that? I think I did. Antifa owns the University of Washington, ... Again. That's an ellipses, by the way, ... I love saying ellipses because people don't know what it means. It makes me feel so smart. That's an ellipses. Actually, that's an ellipses. So on the University of Washington Monday night, Antifa came back. And for people who are sick of hearing the topic of Antifa, are you sick of confronting evil? Are you sick of comparisons of this? I am too. Shall we not talk about it? Let's not talk about it. Let's go back to speaking of ellipses. The reason they're back is very, very clear because President Trump is in the White House. Their job is to create disorder. Their job is to create fear and unrest. Their job is to put in the guts of the middle-class Americans worry and discontent and dread. That's their job. Their job is to disrupt. Their job is to create chaos. Their job is to have everything go bad. By the time of the summer, we have the race riots that are already being planned. You have the corrupt dictator of Illinois, Pritzker, demanding them. And they are the street agents for the elites on the left. Because the elites on the left are already coming back and now building the case for a race war this summer. Antifa are the foot soldiers of Black Lives Matter Incorporated. And they're well trained. They started training in the Seattle area about 10 years ago. It was in a park in Georgetown. I remember talking about it on the radio. And even then, I had conservatives, big rock-ribbed conservatives say, why are you spending any time on this? This is insane. And these are just groups of miscreants. I said, you don't get it. This is military training. This is IED training. Oh, Herman, you're losing it. They're dropping marbles in front of police horses. You're right. They're also teaching people how to hide swords inside protest signs and how to make IEDs with things like bleach. And look what we've seen. We've seen how many cops unalived by these groups or almost unalived. So it happened again on the University of Washington campus. Jonathan Cho is an independent journalist. He was there, consistently threatened. And here we are going around on the campus. Oh, look. It's just some pallets burning on the tip of a building. It's just people not being allowed to go to class. And this is all, of course, on behalf of Hamas. And that's the least of things, burning stuff down and causing this form of chaos. And, oh, look, one of the city scooters is going to burn. I wonder where they got this stuff to burn. And that's the least of the concerns. More of the concerns come with law enforcement. Oh, look, there's Black Bloc up the street. They blocked the entrance to the engineering building because the engineering building, it works with Boeing, and Boeing has a relationship with Israel. And there's a sign up there. It's just, again, promoting Hamas. And that's the engineering building. They hate all structure. And Antifa's there to intimidate. And in the separate country of Washington, they're allowed to intimidate. So you think the police came? They did. And I'll show you in a second exactly what the police were allowed to do. And I invite you to try to think like a cop. And you're going to see some pretty muscled up cops in this. And I want you to try to think of them and what it must be like for them when you see what they were forced to go through. It's corrupt, and it's Washington State, and it's Seattle, and it's bound to be corrupt. Washington State is just filled with gobs of federal money, and they're simply not going to change until Trump makes them change, and I hope we'll do that. They're against all things Trump, even tariffs, right? Well, of course they are, because it's America first. The tariffs are making a big, big change in the United States economy, and you could be positioned to do really well with this. You could be positioned to do very poorly. And if you're doing buy and hold, I, for the life of me, can't understand how that positions you for anything in a time of chaos like this. So my friend Zach Abraham is going to do a free live webinar focused on tariffs. What are they likely to do to the economy, and what are they going to do to portfolios of retirement the way Zach and his team see it? I mean, they can't read the future. They're not prophets, but they analyze things very, very well. This is a free live webinar. All you have to do is register to attend. It's at 3:30 Pacific on Thursday, May 22nd. May 22nd, it's a Thursday. It's 3:30 Pacific. They're going to go into how tariffs are affecting the economy, retirement accounts, how Bulwark is constantly looking to lower our risk profiles, lower costs, and increase our assured retirement, which to them means knowing exactly how much money you'll have every single month while you're retired. It's free to attend, but you have to register. Go to knowyourriskradio.com. That's KNOW, knowyourriskradio.com. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments that involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek 25-206. In fact, there were police on hand at the University of Washington, and here's what they were allowed to do. They were allowed to be hustled away by Antifa. They were allowed to retreat, most of them facing the crowd of terrorists. And now Antifa gets to dictate the terms of engagement. One thing to know about Black Bloc and Antifa is, to a person, every single one of them is a coward. They will never approach you one-on-one or two-on-one. I was approached once 3-on-1, and those guys thought better of it because they're all cowards. They're all taught how to gang up on people. That's the only time they use physical force, is when it's overwhelming. In the separate country of Washington, state police aren't allowed to do anything. Now imagine being hand-to-hand combat trained, being someone who's been in real combat, because a lot of these cops are, being able to handle any 5 of these cowards quickly and easily. And you're forced to back off. That's what the University of Washington has allowed to happen. President Trump's going after Harvard for making it nearly impossible for Asian men to get into Harvard, but all too easy for people of other races who are not ready for Harvard to get into Harvard. He's going after them for allowing anti-Semitism on the campus. They're not just allowing that, but Jewish students being threatened. They're not allowed into their schools. University of Washington's in the same exact position, and they're gearing up for a summer. The failed mayor of Seattle, Jenny Durkan, called the Antifa summer the summer of love, and you can see through the rhetoric they want more of this. Here is a United States Congresswoman rescued from a country that was falling under the weight of terrorism. She's a United States Congresswoman, and she's speaking the blatant language of not just race hustling, but race warring. Ilhan Omar.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
Of course, she means conservative white men who are famously violent. You know, when they're not raising families and working and raising grandkids, famously violent. Because the political violence of the right is almost not there. She's not referring to Antifa, which is usually almost completely white, while Black Lives Matter Incorporated is almost always completely black. And they're joined at the hip with one goal: destabilization. But that's just Ilhan Omar doing what she does, race baiting and trying to stoke a race war, in my opinion. It's a grievous sin. Grievous, because you're trying to get neighbor to hate neighbor. Now, we can't expect Christian behavior from a non-Christian, and she is a non-Christian, and pronouncedly so, or profoundly so. But we can critique it. In the body of Christ, there are no races. There's neither Greek nor Jew, nor servant nor master in the body of Christ. Jesus wants everybody to be readopted into God's family, even people like Michelle Obama. Now that's Ilhan Omar angling for a race war, as I see it. Here's Michelle Obama, who has still found a way to complain about life in the White House.
Many people don't know. I mean, much is not covered. You're paying for every bit of food that you eat. You're not paying for housing and the staff in it, but everything, even travel. If you're not traveling with the president, if your kids are coming on a Bright Star, which is the first lady's plane, we had to pay for their travel.
Savage. Now I can understand the racism of this country. That is insane. Because I remember when I worked at the Republican National Committee in Washington, D.C., I said to the committee, wait a minute. Wait, why am I buying my food? Why am I putting food in my own refrigerator? You need to do this. And secondly, I'm flying my family out and you're not paying for it? You got to pay for this. Well, we'll pay for you when you do travel on behalf of the committee, but then I have to buy my own. At Microsoft, same thing. I remember when I was working at Microsoft, I turned in an expense account and got called in to my boss's office. He goes, what's this? What? You're trying to expense account a kid's swimming pool? Yeah. How can you expense account a kid's? It's just one of those little pools. It's like $10. Why are you pushing back on this? You're putting a kid's swimming pool in your expense account? Well, of course, it's my family. You need to pay the expenses of my family. See right there? Right there? My little daughter likes those Alaska pancakes. You got to cover it. No one does this. Employers don't do these things. And Michelle Obama wants us to look at this and, oh, dear gosh, in heaven, you had to pay for your food? But yes. America is obviously inexorably racist.